Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sylvia and I make videos on planning with the occasional review. Today's video is going to be a flip through of my bullet journal from mid-October to, past mid-November of 2020. Halfway through October, I was really overwhelmed with my planning and my system. It wasn't working for me anymore. I was like, what even is my system? I was having a crisis. And I was just like, I have to figure this out. So I decided to go back to basics and go all in one insert in a traveler's notebook. This is a standard size insert by Travelers Company, and it's a dot grid. There you go. I love this paper. I think it's amazing, and I loved being all in one place for like 4 or 5 days, maybe a whole week. I'll give it a whole week. And then I was over it. I was like, I need to have things separate. I need to compartmentalize, and this whole having everything in one place is not working, especially since this insert is only 64 pages and it didn't last me for let's see, I started in October 16th and today is November 24th. So however many days that is, that's as long as it lasted me. Today I did my last spread in here and I was done. And it's not even like a planning spread. It was for a collection or a project page. So there's that. I also liked the idea of being able to erase things. So I went with a friction pen. This is a 0.5. I love it. I love my friction pens. I really like that I can write things down, and if I mess up, I can just erase it and, start again. So highly recommend friction pens. I'm going to be using them at least for the beginning of 2021 because I'm going to be using a 0.38. I think that it is a narrow enough of a tip, excuse me, that I can use it in the Hobonichi since I am a 3-time champion again this year. And I'd like to erase. So yeah. So let's open up this insert. And in the beginning, I just put a little bit of a flap here for sticky notes. I didn't really use this. A lot of times I do utilize this, but for some reason this time around, I didn't use it. But it's just a laminated sheet that I ran through the laminator, and then I used washi tape to stick it in. I didn't even bother to put my starting date or my ending date on here, which I will do before I archive this. I have some vellum here for like a cover page for the month, and I just made this in Canva, and I went ahead and I washi taped it in. I did go ahead and number the pages, as you can see here down at the bottom. So traditionally in a minimal bullet journal, which this is, in my opinion, minimal is just so like, there's so many ranges, right? It's like saying purple, but it's like, what shade of purple? There's so many different colors. This is minimalist for me. I didn't use any color. I tried to use signifiers and symbols just to highlight things so that my eye would, be caught by that signifier. Whereas, I usually do that with highlighter because, again, I was trying to just get back to basics and see what I like and what I don't. I was totally fine without color. So I think that in 2021, I might start out with no color. Who knows? But in the beginning of a bullet journal, mostly you will find a year at a glance or a Calendex, something like that. You'll even find an index. I don't have that in the beginning of mine. This was pretty simple to look at and go ahead and make a monthly right off of that. I really liked that. I didn't mark on it or anything, which I could have. I could have used stickers or just marked out days with my pen, but I didn't put an index in the front. So this was like the first thing I really wanted to test out. I personally like the idea of, once I'm done with a page, of just kind of like never looking at the beginning of the book again. The problem with that is if you put your index in the front, you never look at it again, right? So I decided instead of doing that, I was going to put my index in the back just to see if I would use it more. That is also true of my this is technically my year at a glance. It's just the 4th quarter because we were in the last quarter of the year anyway. But I put that back here, and I really looked at this a lot, more than I ever do when it's in the front. The same with the index. I mean, look at this baby. It's practically completely filled out. I haven't filled out these ones just because I'm still kind of a little bit lazy about it, but eventually it gets done, which makes me happy. So we'll probably go through and fill these out together when I get to those pages. The only bit of washi tape I used really was on here, as well as like this washi tape strip. I talked about this in a video. I was too lazy to number these out. So I started with one, and then of course the index went in the back. So I just went from one end to the other and started to number them. And there was just like this big space. So I put a washi tape sticker there just so I'd feel better about my life. Other than that, that was it. So after that, I went ahead and I made a key because that usually goes in the front, but I never look at it. So I thought, well, maybe if I put the key in the back. And the truth is, I have most of these things down. I was going to try out a color coding system, but again, I decided to go minimalist, so I never used color in here. I thought about making a key just for my writing stages and then a key for different steps in the system. But I did make one of those, and I will show you. It is in here. I just didn't put it on this page. So another thing I wanted to try out was to label each page as to what they are. So C for me just means collection. This is like something you would put in your collections. Now, if you're new to the bullet journal world, Ryder Carroll created the bullet journal, and he has what he calls collections in the back of his notebooks. And collections can range from anything. It can be, you know, any type of list or project page can become a collection. So like, for instance, if you wanted to read a book, you could write it down, like the title here, which I have one back here. And then you could just write down some notes on that book as you read it, and that can be part of your collection. Or you can have a straight up list of all of the songs that you liked in 2011 for whatever reason. So I wanted to do that, which I did. This did not work for me. So this is more like a, you know, when you have like, you set up the months and you try to put like important dates and things that you want to do in that month. I mean, I used it a little bit, but it was just like a waste of space. I didn't need a whole page for that. I thought I would for some reason. I did that for November because I started this in October 16th. And I didn't even use that at all. I just set up November and didn't even bother looking at this page again. But that was okay because it was something I learned, right? Projects, I did this for the whole quarter. These were things that I wanted to look at. I didn't really refer to this page all that much. I looked at it, but I certainly didn't cross things off because I felt like I needed more space to break these things down. So that was something also I learned, and I've been working on how to do that in a better way that benefits me, as opposed to just trying to make things look filled out and nice for, you know, viewers and stuff. Project lists. So right away, I was filling up the pages in this insert. Again, there's only 64 pages in here. And I thought, man, I don't want to write a project list in here and have to worry about later on writing it again because I'm not going to be in here for very long. So I decided this needed to go somewhere else, and I ended up doing that, but it would have been, you know, a collection. Down at the bottom here, you'll see that I numbered all of the pages, and then I used a stencil and I put a little box. This is something I've seen Carrie Harling and Romany from Romany's Realm do. They put a box down here below, and they both do it differently. I think Romany puts both boxes on one page, and one box will be for each page. But the idea is you color it in when this page is finished, so you know you no longer have to look at this page. Anything that was on it that wasn't finished, needed to be scheduled or migrated has already been done. So I like that. It was very helpful to me. You can see here I have another page back here, and it has a V and a P. V for me means a video. This was a video that I made on my writing channel, which I will link my writing channel down below. And I thought this was really cool. This was Matt Ragland's 10 blocks of time. I ended up doing, I think, 11 blocks. I put a P here also to indicate that this is a project page because this was a project that I was trying out. As you will see in my dailies, I did use this a couple of times. This was a person with the idea of uphill and downhill work that Matt had mentioned in his video that I wanted to check out. So this was a P for project and an R for research. And I was like I put a question mark and I put research here. And the reason for that basically had to do with, I thought R was going to be for reading. And then I had research. So I was like, is R going to be for B for like books? So that was something I also needed to figure out. Here, this was a struggle, and this was something important I needed to find out about. Really stems from the fact that there's not enough pages in this insert. And I knew that going in. I just wanted to try it out for a while. I thought I would try it out for a month, and it lasted a little bit over that. So basically, I'm done with this insert. I have some things I still need to check off, but I'm not going to get to this before I archive this. So that is a struggle for me. And one of the reasons why I think I need to have a collections, or if you're used to the getting things done, the GTD system by David Allan, where he does next action lists, I need to have a separate insert or notebook for those things, because I don't want to feel like, because I wrote the idea for it here, that I need to, you know, rush and do it because I've already written it in this insert. I need a place where I can put these things so that I can gradually work on them when I can. It's also nice to have, where is it? The projects list, because this could have went on here instead of giving it its own page. But I didn't really think about that at the time. I thought, oh, I'm going to have time to do this. I'm going to get to it. And I didn't. So I prefer to have something like this on its own list or in its own notebook so that I can make a page for it and come back to it whenever I want, even if I'm done with the insert that I'm using, because that notebook is its own thing and it doesn't matter. Does that make sense? Over here, this was me thinking up how I would use the Matt Ragland method. So I went ahead and I was drawing out what my my blocks would be. I put it as a project. I could also put a V as I was going to make this a video. So this is just something I'm playing with. Like, how would I label these? Would I put a bunch of labels if they're more than one thing? How does that work out? Here I have a couple of pages with, I won't show, but they were videos, again, video ideas that I fully thought out. I just didn't have time to work on them and set them up because I had other things I had to do, or I had other videos that had to come out first. So again, there are ideas that I've already fully developed in here that I'm going to archive this like in a couple of days, and they're going to get archived, and I'm probably going to have to rewrite them in my next insert or in my next bullet journal. So again, that's just another check mark for me to make this, you know, the next actions list or collections pages its own insert or its own notebook in general. This is me talking about the Alistar Method. I did a whole video on my Ryder channel about this and how you can break it down into quarters and what the Alistar Method is, who created it, all that jazz. So this has a video as well as a project signifier on it. This one is a collection. This is just a cheat sheet so that I could know how many I needed to go across in order to divide the page in half and into, you know, quarters and all of that. So I really liked having this. Here is a video I never got to, but I finally finished reading all the way through Getting Things Done by David Allan, and I wrote some notes down here. I even printed out the, this is called the, I think it's called the flow chart from the book, and then I put some more notes on the back, and this was going to be the page where I put notes for how I was going to talk about this in a video, and I thought it would be easier to make this a series of, like, I don't know, just breaking it in half, because I feel like I'd be talking for a long time. So I was planning this out. Again, I liked having a place to brainstorm things like this. I also put an R here because I was reading this. And then again, I was like, okay, does R mean research or does it mean reading, or should I put a B for book? I was really like working with that. I put P for project because this was a project, and then V because this was going to be a video. And you can see down here at the bottom that I haven't completely filled out the squares because although I have read it and I've made the notes, at least from the book rather, and not really the video yet, it's not completed. So this was my other struggle. I've filled out every page in here, or I have plans for every page that is in this insert, and I need to move on to the next one. And I still have things that I've developed in here that are going to get archived. So it's like, do I rewrite this or do I refer to this? What's going to happen? So that was a struggle. And again, I just really feel like having a notebook or an insert just for collections works better than trying to have everything all in one place. This was something that I never finished. I didn't finish reading this book because I got bored. I know, is that awful to say or what? But I just was like, I'm going to come back to it. And again, this probably should have went on the projects list in the back, like a someday maybe, or eventually I'm going to get to in the near future. And I ended up having to drop this book to do a couple of other things. So I put an R because I'm reading, and then of course it's a video. So this is an open project that I need to come back to, and I do have the book, so it's easy for me to do that. I was going to do a video on the Kanban board, never got around to it because, you know, there's only so many hours in the day. How to choose a bujo. This was a video I was going to make based on all of the bullet journals that I've ever owned, because I ended up buying the Scribbles That Matter as well as the Stology in a 6 size, one after the other. Both of them were a miss for me. They didn't work out at all. I don't recommend them, especially the A6. It was just, it reminded me of a diary. I don't know how people use it as a planner, but you do you. So I wanted to try the A5, and I thought maybe that would work out for me, but then I went with the Hobonichis. So this is an open project and a video. At this point, these were like, I don't know if these were like the newer ones, but I didn't number the pages down here. So that was another thing that kind of annoyed me about having inserts and trying to do a traditional bullet journal. I really did refer and use the numbers down here at the bottom, as you can see. I even did some what they call threading. So I know that the next task page is on page 16. But I had to number these, and I'm pretty much a lazy planner. We've talked about that on this channel, and I would forget to go back and, you know, number things. So I kind of wanted a bullet journal that had numbers in it, so I didn't have to do it myself. It's okay to, but I forget to do it. Over here, this is stuff that I could print at home that I was working on. A lot of the stuff I do in Canva, or I find on the internet. Like, people are really great about having freebies as long as you like sign up for their blog or something. So this was just stuff I could print at home, as opposed to the list I have for printing at the library, because none of this had to be printed in color, and they have like a really amazing printer that just has the most beautiful colored prints at the library. So I choose to print there. And that was just a collection. And then we have my Thanksgiving list. This is all the stuff we're having for Thanksgiving. S indicates that this is the stuff my sister is making. M is for my mother. I know a lot of people are probably just staying home and not inviting people over, but my mother lives between my house and my sister's house. She takes turns staying with the both of us, and then my niece and nephew come to my house. They get off of the bus here, and I watch them. So we're like, even though we're separate households, we're like one household, because we unfortunately are unable to, you know, do what a lot of people can, where we can social distance. My sister relies on me, and I, you know, help take care of her kids. So we just basically have all the same germs. That's how we're looking at it. So we're like, we can come over for Thanksgiving. That's fine. So I just made that list here so that I can make sure to check everything off as Thanksgiving is going to be in the next couple of days. And this is a collection page for the Hunger Games. I gave it 3 pages. My niece Jade and I started reading this, and this is for the notes for the chapters as we go. Also, the Hunger Games is broken up into 3 parts, so I thought maybe a page per part, possibly. So again, this is something that I had space for in here, but I started this like maybe, I wrote this down like a week ago, knowing that we were going to be reading this during the break. She's already off for Thanksgiving break, and I had more pages in here, but they're all filled up. So again, I don't know. It's like, do I go ahead and I use the space for this, or do I move this collection into something else? This is something I can refer to, you know, for years to come, because the Hunger Games is awesome. But yeah, so this is the struggle. Again, I feel like I want to have a whole notebook just for lists and collections more than an insert, because inserts, you can't fit that many pages in an insert like you can into a notebook. You can use like a Tomoe River paper insert. Paper Penguin Co. I think has one that might be 80 pages or more. So that would be a nice one. However, I still feel like having a whole notebook of 200 pages and more might be nice for just my collections and projects. So let's say that I make at least 2 videos a week for this planning channel, and then I make 2 videos a month maybe for my writing channel. That one's a little more loosey-goosey. That's enough videos that I could fill up a whole notebook on videos and collections and next action lists, I think. I do like having room to brainstorm, and I feel like when I only have 64 pages, I didn't do as much as I normally would, if that makes sense. So back here, continuing with the collections, these were my planners for 2021. I have a Hobonichi Cousin A5. Sorry, I'm having some asthma, so if I'm breathing heavy, it's because I had to take a hit off my inhaler. It's just really cold here, and man, I'm really feeling it today. So the Hobonichi Cousin A5, Hobonichi Weeks, as well as the Hobonichi A5 Day Free. That's what I'm working with for the year. And I was just kind of trying to brainstorm what I would be doing. This washi tape came off of a package, so it has a little bit of the brown from the box, but I stuck it in here anyway because I liked it. It was really cool. So I'm just going through and trying to figure out what I would put in each planner. Am I going to make it a planner / journal? What's going to happen here, especially with this day free? I mean, the possibilities are endless. I know it looks like I've done more work on the A5, but that's because it has 3 different sections in it. So I'm working on that. Over here, I wanted to try this out. This is my online tracker. I had a little bit of a wish list next to it, and then I was keeping track of money, and I was like, I don't really care about the money as much as I do whether I've received the package or not. So that's what I was doing there. And this is by, gosh, I don't even know, maybe Annie Plans. I've had it forever. I just printed it out because I had it on my laptop, and then I washi taped it in. I didn't even washi tape it in. I just like regular taped it in. Here is for my library. So this is an errand that I have out of the house. I like to print, like I mentioned earlier, from the library because they have beautiful prints at the library. So this was something I did on the 15th. I thought I like putting the date down so I know what I did when. Over here, this is another errand for the bigger town, so things that I can only get there, and then consider them collections. I tried to use this, and I mean I kind of used it. You can see all these X's because I wasn't really like doing these things I thought I was going to do. That happens. But I thought about trying this out. So this is by Ink Imperfections and Paper and Cats. They did a collab for this, and I use this normally in my traveler's notebook, but it's its own insert, and I feel like I don't always need the whole insert. I'm doing okay with it. We are currently on the 23rd, so I am up to date with these 3 things. I didn't want to, you know, plan too much here or track too much here rather, because then I fall off. Like, this is a mess, but some things are getting used. So that was another interesting test. So I don't know if I'm going to be using this in 2021 or not. And that is pretty much the end of the collections. There might be a couple in between these pages here. So let's go back to the beginning. So at the beginning here, I have October 2020. I started it on Friday the 16th, and I just did my monthly log. I set it up like Ryder Carroll does, where he puts the monthly tasks across from the monthly log. I put some goals here, and I quickly found that I hated this. I didn't break down the goals big enough because these things have many steps. Like, this had a lot of steps, and so I don't know. I was like, man, I need to figure out something better for that. But that was okay because I learned that. I tried to track over here and I fell off, and I started tracking on the monthly that I showed you. So I just left that alone. I didn't like this because, again, I needed space to break these down into smaller steps like collections or next action lists. I felt like writing them down here didn't work for me for two reasons. One, I didn't have enough space to break them down further. Two, I didn't like the fact that I had to rewrite all of these things. I appreciate that part of rewriting these every month or when you run out of space and you need to make another page somewhere else is a way to revise and make sure that these tasks are something that you still need to do, that they're still important, whether you need to strike them out or not. But I don't like doing it. I don't like rewriting things over and over again. So I would prefer to have what I think a lot of people are calling their master task list, where it's just like a running to-do list that you don't ever have to like rewrite again. If you like check off stuff and you want to clean it up because there's only 3 or 4 things, you could just move those things over. This was just not working for me. And I really didn't come back to this at all because most of these things I made into a collections page or a next actions page in the back or somewhere else and broke them down further. So this was just a place for me to mark off the entire thing when it was done or to forward to the next month because it didn't get done this month, which was also depressing. So this was for the month of October. You'll see that it went from October 16th to November 1st. And that was the weeks 42 of 45 of the year. And then this one was for November all the way till December 6th. And those were weeks 44 for 49. I liked having these because when you have a plain bullet journal like this, you don't have the weeks to refer to. Like in the Hobonichis or the Jibun Techo, they usually have on every single week what week of the year it is. And I really miss that. This was a hot mess. For some reason, I decided to put my lists for videos for Sincerely Sylvia Writes here. This is my writerly channel. Instead of putting it in the back as a collection, I thought, well, let's just put it all together with the month, right? And I never referred to this again because once the month's over, I don't want to look at any of these pages again. And that's why I like to put collections or anything in the back. I like to be able to pin all of this back and not refer to it anymore. That's another thing that was an issue. So if I wanted to keep journal stuff in here, which I try to do a little bit, but I hated it. And I needed to refer to those things again. Or for instance, if I had a dream and something interesting happened that dream, take that and put it into another like collections page or a writing journal so that I could, develop that idea further. I would never look at it again because I pinned it back. So I don't know how to get over pinning things back, but it's what I do. So the only thing I can think of is to put anything I need to ever refer to in the very back of the book instead of in the front. So this was something that I hated, and I didn't like listing all of these things out because some of these things I didn't even do the videos, so they stayed blank, which made me feel awful. So again, I'd prefer to have each of these, I think, individually on a collections page or a next actions list instead of making something like this because it doesn't really work out. It only half works out for me, at least. This was a weekly Alistar Method, so this was week 42, and I had the days there, which I liked. This was fine. I didn't utilize the space. I had mills down here at the bottom. This was another hot mess. I was trying to think of my daily routine. And so what I did in the beginning, I really did think about, okay, let's put my index and any forward planning in the back here, the key in the back, collections in the back. But for some reason, once I started the bullet journal, I decided, okay, let's just try to do what Ryder Carroll does. And as the page comes to you or as the day comes to you, write down whatever you want to do. So on this day, it's not day 7, even though it's page 7, I decided, I should have a daily routine. And I wrote it here instead of in the back, which was wrong because I never looked at this because once I passed that page, it was clipped back and I didn't want to look at it anymore. I did some dailies in here, which was fine. However, I ran out of space for dailies right away, and I started using what was my journal, because immediately I was like, I need to have a journaling place somewhere else. So I did that. And I had another insert just for that. I started putting my dailies in there because they kind of went hand in hand a little bit, but also because there wasn't enough space for dailies in here. Here I tried to do a weekly review. I'm not big on reviews. I appreciate what they do, but I just don't want to reflect. Maybe I'll get into that more in 2021. For right now, I was like, pass. This was the key I decided to do because there wasn't enough space in the back. Here, I just put like small amounts of space. Then I decided to like really go for it. I was like, what if I have color? Okay, this is the color. And if I want to abbreviate them, this is what it would look like. Over here, I started working with different types of writing that I have and how I would signify those. And then this was like, okay, if I don't want to use color in my new bullet journal or my new planners, this is how I could indicate certain colors. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, this is brown. Let me write that. Okay, sorry, that was going to bother me. I know what you're thinking. You're like, why would you have color if written down if you're not actually going to use the color? And that's because a lot of things online for me are color coded. All of my files, like my physical files of my writing and stuff, is all color coded. And so this was a way to not have to use like highlighters and pens and still have the color, so that I would know where it was, like in a file or online. Does that make sense? It does in my brain. I'm sorry if I'm not explaining it properly. So this was another way to do that. And instead of having just one square, I'd put 2 squares to indicate that this was a color, trying to keep that separate from just the regular, like, you know, like R for research, and then 2 squares is red. Over here, I had letters and numbers. So I watched a couple of videos, and I'm going to do videos on them and give those people credit because they're awesome, because I was trying to figure out how do people do this if they don't use color. And I found a couple people that were really great about this. One was like the Frankenlong system, which I might try out. But in that video, he was using things like this. So like A with a line under it, A with 2 lines under it. So you could use the alphabet 3 different times and know that this was list 1, list 2, and this was the third list. I thought about marking my weeks with A1 all the way down like this. I know it looks like it's math, which is a little scary for English majors, but you know, just to help me out so that I could like shorthand things and know what week this was for. Sorry, I had to take my inhaler again. I'm telling you, I'm just like dying with this cold air. Anyway, breathing hard. Over here, I was trying to decide what would be the differences between having a circle, a square, a triangle. So that also gives me some different signifiers there. So a circle was going to mean that it was in my bullet journal, because I do have 3 different planners, and I'm thinking about doing a bullet journal system just for like my collections or next action lists, whatever you, or just lists in general, whatever you like to call them. A reference notebook also. I wanted to be able to find these things in different places. So I didn't know what I wanted to do with square. I thought, well, maybe it just means things like this. So I left it blank. And then triangle was going to mean that this was in a writing program. So I use Scrivener. I use a couple of different online writing programs right now that are kind of cool. I usually use like Pages at some point. I also use Google Docs and Google Sheets. So there are actually a bunch of different programs that I use. So I do need a triangle to indicate, okay, this project is in this place. I have my writing, reading, projects, and I was like, reading must be books, and I changed it to a B because, again, R to me means research. Projects, collections, and videos. So these were just to go ahead and mark at pages like this to indicate what it was. And then I had different phases, and I was like, okay, there was something in the Frankenlog. Again, I'll link the video down below because I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. And I still am going to try to make a video because I think he's really cool and he's on to something, you know, in the minimalist bullet journal world that's really awesome. So Number projects was like if you made a master task list and you numbered all of them and you needed to refer to different notebooks or planners, you would be able to say, okay, this was project number 1 or this was project 47. And you could put that down and look at your master task list and look up what project 47 was. Stuff like that. Again, novel, nonfiction, short fiction, and research came up again. So I was like, how do I do that? Places, again, this was writing programs, Scrivener, Pages, Windows Doc. I just noticed that. That's not Windows. That's Google Doc. Google Doc, and then we have that it's in a physical file folder and then printed. So that's really important to me because I get scared about losing things because I have in the past a long time ago. So I always try to print a physical copy so that I have it on hard copy in case, you know, the system of backing up things and online breaks down. So this was a really cool kind of like project where I was like brainstorming, how do I do this without color? How do I become more efficient and be able to have signifiers appear to indicate what things are for? So it's easier for me to find and go from book to book or planner to planner. Then here I was playing with my DSLR. I've had one for a while, still don't film with it. Currently right now I'm filming with my iPhone because it's so much easier to set up than a DSLR. I don't know anything about it. So I was trying to learn like all the different things about it, all the settings, what would work best with lighting. And it really depends on how dark it is. Where this one, it automatically works. And when you put this on automatic, it doesn't always work. So struggles. I tried to do another reflection here and I did do it. And then I was putting like where the other reflections were because I was doing threading. So on page 9, 21, and then 13. Dailies, which are very boring. And I thought, man, I really don't need dailies in here or journaling. It's just like not important. It's not something anyone needs to see. So having that in its own place in one of my planners or in one of my new journals would be amazing because I don't like when I'm doing collections to stop because there's dailies or journaling. I like for it to just flow all in one place. The same with my planning. It's like broken up with dailies and journaling in a way that I don't like it that. I kind of think that the Hobonichi A5 cousin is going to work for me because it is divided by month, week, and then day. I kind of like that. I know some people don't, but it makes my brain happy. So this is some notes on my blocks. So this is where I tried the Matt Ragland. I think it's Ragland, right? Am I saying that properly? It just sounds so different. I feel like I'm saying it wrong. But anyway, Matt Ragland's 10 blocks. I did 11 blocks. I tried this out. My sister-in-law passed away. And that was a long time coming. She'd been sick for a while. So it was just more about spending time with family and taking care of, you know, each other. So I fell off on a bunch of stuff here. I didn't feel like doing writing. I canceled my live streams that week. So with Lauren. So these didn't get checked off. And then I made some notes about why that happened and what I felt about all of that across from here, which I liked doing because it helps me figure out what I like about the system and what I don't, especially when I go back and I see it and I'm like, why didn't I continue with this? Well, here's the notes why. So I kind of liked that. Another weekly and some dailies. This one I filled out more because I put some notes here. And then I had like what we ate for the week. So I kind of liked this. I've since moved this onto the fridge. I bought, what's it called? It's like a pad. And you can also put like your grocery list and it's perforated so you can rip off the grocery list part. So I don't need this in here anymore. And I kind of like that because everyone can see, like Jay can see what we're eating and what we're not going to be eating that day. What we have in the fridge and what we don't have in the fridge, which is awesome. Okay, sorry, my brother just drove up. He's gonna take some trash to the dump for me, like big stuff that you can't put in your trash can. So I'm so excited. Anyway, where was I? I think I was talking about dailies, weeklies, reflection and all of that stuff. I just don't, I sometimes I use the dailies and if I use them enough, I don't need a weekly. If I use the weekly enough, I don't need dailies. It's so, and it just depends. So that's the beauty of a bullet journal. You can make a decision, but Yeah, I can't seem to have both. Anyway, so I printed one of these out again for November. And here was how I set up November. I like having this half and half, but I find that I don't really utilize this calendar as much as I would if it was square. There's something about a square calendar that works better than a list calendar for me. I don't know what it is, but I will fill that baby up. This doesn't really get filled up at all. Gotta take a breath. So I always leave a column next to the date so that I can put signifiers here. So for instance, I had two things here. So one of them got done, so I got a check. The other one didn't, so I got an X. I like to put if things are like, you know, important with like the little star signifier. I marked if things didn't get done. So we didn't have live streams for the whole month of November. We were taking a break because Lauren moved into her new house and my sister-in-law passed away and things were just kind of like changing. So we just took the month off. I tried again with this list and again, like a jerk, I put some things down here. Like these are TV shows I didn't want to forget about. So I guess I could mark them off, but I can't possibly finish them in 1 month. So I don't know what the point of writing them down here was. I just wanted to remember not to forget that we're actually watching these because that happens a lot. So these need to be their own list as well because it makes no sense. Like when do I mark them off? At the end of the month, I guess, but they're not going to be finished because they're series. Yeah, but everything else I did pretty well with. There's just a couple of things left and we're almost to the end of November. It'll probably get done in the next couple of days. Then I made another task list because I ran out of space here. I just continued it here, which was fine. But again, these were things that like I didn't want to forget about, but they probably should have went if you're following the GTD, the Getting Things Done System by David Allan. These would go on a list of their own probably because these are all things that people have sent me to review that I haven't received yet. But I'm just trying to remind myself, hey, don't forget you have to do these videos. You have to email these people to let them know that you received it. And then you have to email them and upload the actual video so that they know that they have been done. And then you can mark them off. So if they don't come in the mail soon, it'll go into December while I'm looking for these. I just don't want them to get lost in the mail or in the shuffle. So this could all be its own page. These are like waiting on things in the David Allan system. Again, I tried to do the Matt Ragland's 10 blocks system and it was cool, but again, the library didn't get marked off. I did go to the library to do some prints, even though we didn't have any live streams, so I didn't need this much time for that. I have a whole video talking about this if you're wondering what this means. I didn't work on Project Canary at all or miscellaneous writing because I really worked on Project Violet a lot. I didn't have as much spare time as I thought because I think Jade at this time was still at home. She has since gone back to school, physical school now. But I was teaching her at home, so I didn't have as much time as I thought to do a lot of these things. I still liked this. I still didn't finish everything up, as you can see. And then I went back to having my weeks together because I kind of liked that. I didn't like having 1 week and then a bunch of dailies and other things and then another week. I liked being able to see the difference side by side. More dailies, reflection here. And then, of course, I decided to have this for the month, which is working out okay. But again, I wrote a bunch of stuff here I thought would happen, and then it didn't. And this is a erasable pen, so I could have put something else there. But these were things I wanted to keep in, you know, my mind's eye. So I just need to figure out a spread or a collection for things like that so I can continuously look at it. And when I have time, try to work on it. But it's just not going to be every week, apparently. So there's that. And now we're back to where we were before, where the collections start and all of that stuff. So I learned a bunch in here. I learned that I don't like having everything in one place. And I definitely know that. I like that I don't have to use color if I don't want to. I'm really going to try to figure out something with all of these signifiers so that I can reference things easier throughout my notebooks and planners, because I think that would be helpful not only to myself but to all of you. Yeah, so now it's time for me to move into my planners within about a week. Two of my Hobonichis I can use in the month of November, and one of them I cannot. It just makes more sense to do the A5 in January, since the dailies start in January. Yeah, so the next time I do another bullet journal video or planning video, any kind of planner video in general, it should be in my new planners. All right, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope that this was helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.